Yes, welcome to Functional Conditioning Yoga with me, Ricky. We're on tour. I'm on holiday and I didn't want to cancel. So we're here at the side of a lake in Limoges in France. It's going to be cool. It's going to be good. It means we don't get the sofa to help us, but that works. It's okay. You can still follow along in the front room or wherever you are. And as always, it's yoga that isn't a game of copy me. You have to work out what you're working with, and then I help you understand how your joints work and how your body works, and we get things to work nice. So if you can start either perched on the edge of your sofa like we normally do, or sat cross-legged, that'd be good. And just fidget a little bit. So rock around a bit, feel what's touching the floor, what isn't. Maybe shrug your shoulders up and then let them hang down. Relax your jaw. Soften your shoulders down away from your ears. And make breathing come from your rib cage. It's allowed to come from your belly a little bit as well, but really, I want you to see if you can feel the breathing apparatus expand. And it's especially your diaphragm that we're trying to get to be quite a large part of your breathing stuff. Make it all nasal breathing, and then do a little side bend, squeeze in the side of your ribs down towards the side of your pelvis. Work out what joins in when you do this. Especially look at where your head goes actually, because you can kind of see, hopefully, that my head stays pretty central over the top of my hips rather than it going like this, which is kind of allowed. It's still a side bend. I'm still scrunching up this side and lengthening this side, but I prefer you to understand how to keep your vision seeing the same thing. That's it. I feel like my phone's gonna fall. So just keep doing that little side bend. And then rolling up onto all fours for me, and then just start tilting lower back. So it's cat-cow, but not full cat-cow. I want you to separate out the lower back from upper back. If I tuck my chin into my chest, I can just move lumbar spine and nothing else. If kneeling isn't an option for you, you can always do this seated. If actually having your knees pressed into the floor isn't available, just do it seated and imagine like you're doing the same thing, and you should be able to feel your pelvis tilt on the floor. In terms of spine health, if you practice this with me, I don't value global movement as much as segmental movement in the spine. Global is when you move everything all at the same time like this. Still feels kind of nice, still feels kind of good, but this doesn't teach me anything. It's nice to get things moving, but it doesn't teach me anything. This ability to move my pelvis, lower back, lumbar spine, be able to travel up into the middle back, into my neck, and do this all separately, depending on where stuff is just so much more helpful. So let's go through that a bit more actually for neck health, as long as you're all right still on all fours. If not, remember, seated is an option. It's the same thing, just gravity is pointing a different way. So if you round your back as much as you can, and then try and look up, then try and look down through your arms, and then look up, look down through your arms. And as you tuck your chin, you might feel a big stretch down the middle of your back. And then try arching your back, do the same. Feel those muscles perform very differently. Move slowly. Remember, no surprises. So as you pull into end range, you know what you're dealing with, and it doesn't just pull tight and annoy you. That's it. Cool. And then just do a little bit of neck side to side, still looking down, unless you are up and seated. You're pulling your ear to shoulder, ear to shoulder. Very cool, very cool. Okay, and then bring it up into standing. Let's see, yes, I'm in. Right, let's go through a little bit of balance work. Just pour your weight over onto one foot and just keep feeling how your foot is communicating with the floor. And in yoga, one of the most popular balance poses is tree pose, like this or like this. And it's great, and I kind of like it, but I want you to just play around with just touching your foot against your calf and then taking it away again, and touch your foot against the calf and take it away. Because I think that balance should be your ability to deal with a slightly different equilibrium, so that you can just learn how to stack the weight over the top of a really stable balance point. So as I move, I could even put my foot onto my calf and move my hips around and hopefully keep balance, because my big toe is rooted into the floor and staying nice and steady. And then see if you can move hips way out. So as I move my hips that way, away from this balance point, then my head goes to the outside of the balance point, and then I can bring it back again. And your ability to keep the weight going through the ball of the foot, going through the big toe, as your hips come out, will help you to understand how to organise your balance so that it really works. Let's try that on the other side then. So play around with putting your foot on your calf for tree pose, and then take it away again. And without touching the floor, so you can feel how, hopefully, if you've got this skill, even if you have to touch the floor, you're just reorganising equilibrium, and it might only be a tiny, tiny change. So as you bring your foot up onto your calf, maybe your hips kind of push across and balance is easier. And then see if you can move your hips out. And we're looking for head outside of foot. And that balance sends a different line of tension from your foot up into your hip. I want to try and learn all of these places so that they become options, they become things that you can use in real life. There we go. Okay, let's get into some shoulder stuff. So if you wrap your arm around your rib cage and pull this hand back as far as you can, and feel like you hit a little stretchy bit here down the front of your shoulder, I want you to keep your hands on your rib cage so that you don't rotate your body as you reach back, and then rotate your arm up and back and down and back. And we're only looking at the rear of your shoulder. So it's only the stuff in the back of your shoulder that we're trying to make do work. And the whole time this bit at the front of your shoulder hopefully gets nice and stretched out. If you have any pain, then just do less. Less just means that you don't quite reach as far back. If your arm comes into your eye line, then see if you can just get it behind your eye line. Most people should be able to get that without pain, unless you've got a real mechanical injury. As you do this, the rotation, so like the axial rotation, like pencil sharpener style rotation, gives you space to be able to perform, and you can find a little bit more by turning your palm as you go. And this is like a searching exercise. Let's do this in the other arm. It's searching for the end of your joint, so it doesn't just only move in mid-range. You can teach it how to move around every corner, every little bit. That's it. Keep pulling back, keep pulling back, keep pulling back, keep pulling back. Okay, now this changes dramatically when you do it with both arms, but I want to practice something. If you can make a bit like a fist, but without curling your fingers under, your fingertips press into the palm of your hands, and then hook your arms in like you're trying to show your knuckles to each other, like that, and then go up overhead and reach back with both arms, up and back with both. That's it. Keep this little hook on, keep rotating your arms, and pulling back. And the axial rotation, again, is super important. It's really difficult now. Yes, there we go. Okay, let's get into stretchy stuff. So if you take a step forwards, make sure that your feet are like on train tracks. Because as you take a step forwards, you shouldn't be wobbly. You should be able to pitch your weight over 2 feet with your feet quite far apart and your weight is nice and even. I'm going to lift up the heel on the back foot. If I move sideways on, you can see a bit more. That heel is up. As I bend my front knee, I can feel a stretch in my groin, and my pelvis needs to stay kind of square to begin with. Like always, there's lots of options, and search for the feeling of the hip flexor stretch here. Now your hip flexor is so important. It's what lifts your knee up as you take a step. It can be a little bit of elasticity to spring us forwards when we run, when we walk fast, but it's stretched, this muscle, the psoas mainly, by your bum muscle tensing. You can find and lose this stretch by arching your lower back. As I arch my lower back, it tilts the pelvis forwards, and where the psoas attaches on the back, on my spine, takes the stretch away because it's popping forwards, and the attachment on my thigh means that I can't feel anything. And I find it again by tucking my tailbone under. When you can understand that and find the difference between lose it, find it, lose it, find it, and be able to just play with that with balance, getting your bum muscle involved, it gives you real understanding of how your hip flexors work. And then we can look at how that works further up the spine and into the muscles of the belly as well. So if you reach your arms forwards and thumbs reach back, and then from the neck, tuck your chin, upper back reach up, and the upper back reaches up more and more, and then we get a hip flexor stretch plus a stretch down the muscles of our belly into extension in our back. Keep chin tucked and back. Come on, balance. There we go. And then maybe if you're strong and flexible, you can bend this front knee further forwards, maybe get all the way down to here and push back up and bring it back down. I don't normally do stuff as difficult as that in this class, but if you manage that, that's fantastic. If you didn't and wobbled and had to come out, it's all right. It was just a one-time little bit of play. So swap feet or swap sides, spin around if you want. Make sure that as you stand with your feet split, balance isn't affected particularly. It's nice and easy. And then see if you can keep your pelvis facing forwards. Remember, heel up on this back foot. The ball of your foot is the thing taking your weight on the back foot. Bend this front knee until you find stretching the hip flexor, and then we find it and lose it. Here, tucking your tailbone under to find it, arching lower back to lose it. Find it, lose it, find it, lose it. And feel what it takes to make that happen. Maybe your bum muscle has to be involved for that to happen. Like you squeeze bum cheek on and squeeze bum cheek on. Keep this front knee nice and bent, and then hold it, bend the front knee, and then just play around a little bit, and then arch the back up, pull rib cage back down, arch back up, pull rib cage back down. That's it. So then we'll try this with arms forwards, reach up, find the end of your shoulders, tuck your chin first, then pick rib cage up. I've lost vision because I'm looking into the sun, but I'll be all right. And then pull rib cage back down, rib cage up, rib cage back down. I find that really hard to breathe there, but let's just see. Go rib cage up and see if you can, not quite long enough. Bring yourself down as low as you can, still with the stretch through the muscles in the belly, and then push yourself back up. Bring it back around forwards. Fantastic. So that hopefully will give you an understanding of how the hip flexors go to the next joint in our spine, muscles in our belly, and it's all just about control. So if we stretch the other way now, so this bit here was just lengthened out, we're now going to shorten this bit and lengthen the hamstrings and the bum muscles. Just as a test, I want you to put your hands on your bum cheeks and push your bum back and see if you can feel your bum muscles stretch over your pelvis as you get hamstring stretch, and then tense your bum to push your hips forwards again. So you can see how I don't go that low. I'm kind of bendy, but that is it. My back is kind of flat, my chest is almost parallel with the floor, and I can use my hips to push back forwards again. Let's go one more. Hold the stretch for a second. I feel the muscles around my bum curl over. I feel like they don't change if my head drops, picks back up, pick yourself back up again. And then this time we're going to stretch, but I want you to just go over one leg. So in fact, put your hands on your bum cheeks again, find the hamstring stretch, and pass your way over to one leg, and just live in stretch here, feeling stretch in your hamstrings. Keep holding. Your hands can go anywhere that is useful, so you can go on your thigh, on your calf, just keep hanging out. That's it. What I like about this is the find it, lose it game as well, where you lose the stretch and then find it again. And you lose it by bending your knee a little bit and then straighten it up again. Bend your knee a little bit and straighten it up again. It gives me access to understanding when that stretch is happening in my hamstring. It's quite tight. Cool. And then we'll bring it across all the way over to the other side and just hang out in the stretch that you can deal with. Shouldn't be all that difficult. That's it. Just keep holding. Hanging out. Make it nice and easy so you can back away a little bit if you need to. And see how my torso is right over the top of this leg. And then bend your knee to lose it, straighten your knee to find it. Just keep playing here. Pretty good. As you straighten it, find how the end range really digs in. That's it. And then bring yourself to the middle and share that stretch between both legs. And then you can just let your arms hang. You can bring your fingertips onto your elbows to let the weight of your body let this stretch happen. And you can even play with the way your feet are, so you could bring your feet a little bit wider if you wanted. Just drop elbows down. Keep teasing hamstrings to just be a bit happier, a bit longer. And then see if you can use the hamstrings to pick you all the way back up, which is kind of difficult. So as you stand like this with your feet wide, your hamstrings are in their shortened position. As you push your hips back, maybe put your hands on your bum cheeks again, they get longer. As soon as they have to hold you up, they should pull you back and bring a bit of tension on. One of the job types that I deal with a lot of nurses that have really tight hamstrings because they lean over bed so much and they only ever go to this. They only ever get, well, not with the legs this wide, but they only get this far bent over, so their hamstrings adapt and they just end up so tight and it gives them such bad back problems. I really want you to understand how to get lower from the lengthening of the hamstrings and not the arching of the back. So your lower back stays kind of in the position it lives in when you're stood up. And then slowly, slowly pick yourself back up again. Okay, let's get into some spine stuff again. So let's stick with the wide feet because I'm kind of comfy stood like this for now. So if you pick your left arm up and pin it up against your ear, I want you to reach your arm down your leg. So your right arm reaches down your leg and this arm comes over. I want you to rotate so you show the side of your ribs up to the sky, and then you show me the side of your ribs, and then show the side of your ribs up to the sky, and then show me the side of your ribs. And just play with that little bit of thoracic rotation. If you can, keep your hips kind of still. That'd be good. Cool. Then bring it over to the other side. This bicep up against your ear. Reach over and it's scrunching up of this side, lengthening of this side, a little bit like we do when we're sat. Just getting started, practicing breathing, and practice your breathing while you do this as well. So rib cage shows forwards, rib cage rolls up. Trying your best to keep hips still. Nice. Then bring it back up. Okay. That made me feel a little bit better actually for doing a bit more spine stuff, and my obliques and the muscles down the sides of my belly feel well woken up. Okay. So if you come down into 90-90, so with your left leg forward, right leg back, like this. So you've got your shin coming across and your thigh coming across. They're parallel with each other. If your heel is touching your thigh, open it out a bit. So shuffle your back leg back and your front leg forwards a bit. Make sure your knee is happy. You can always stack this knee up a bit if it's giving you a bit of bother. And then you lean your belly over your thigh. Maybe bring elbows down and just hang out here. You should feel a stretch down the outside of your left bum cheek, as long as this is your left leg underneath you. If you feel it in your groin, in a pinch in the front of your hip, I want you to just play around a bit and move around until you can fix that up a bit. But for now, it is just here, your belly pressed into your thigh. If you can understand arching your lower back, that should make this stretch just a bit deeper. And it feels like I'm trying to lift my coccyx, lift my tailbone away from the floor just a bit as I drop my chest just a bit lower. Just hang out here. And it's one of the most useful stretches that I do this 90-90. It's cousin to pigeon stretch, which is also a lovely stretch and a great yoga pose, but I find this much more adaptable. I'm much happier teaching it in a class environment, knowing that most people will find this much easier than actual pigeon. If you go into this and you think that pigeon is more useful, I'm down for it. You can do what the thing that is most useful for you, because this is for you. It's not for me, it's for you. But I teach in a way that makes it so that the majority of people can understand it, follow along and get it. And this works. Okay. Start pushing your knee down into the floor and feel the outside of your bum cheek. Feel the hip muscles contract a little bit. It should be kind of hard. It should be big effort finding that, and finding it and finding it and finding it, and seeing if you can be strong. And then let's see if you can fade that out really easily and then ramp that tension back up to fade out. And you can understand every little millimetre of this movement. It's not movement, every millimetre of your irradiation and tension. You are strong enough to be able to control how much you push. And then sit yourself up, hands either side of your thigh. I just want you to pull your knee up to your armpit, because that's the position we were just in. We're trying to get as strong as we are flexible. I'm on a bit of an incline here, and this kind of works because it's inclining back this way towards the water. It's pitched me up a little bit so I can get a good bit of height on this, and I can feel like I'm reasonably close to this position that I was just in. And I'm as strong as I am flexible. It means I've got hip that I can control. There's no surprises in my life of doing exercise and sport, or even just being on holiday and moving around. Okay, let's try that on the other side. So if you swing back leg forwards, front leg back, and just settle into this. Make sure that you're all lined up nicely. So that means if your heel is touching your thigh, you're probably tucked up too tight. So you might want to shuffle the back leg back a little bit, front leg forwards a little bit, and then hinge forwards until you can feel a bit of stretch down the outside of your right bum cheek. Whatever leg you've got forwards should do a stretch on the right bum cheek. Elbows down kind of works for me. And think about this right knee being close to your right armpit and your left elbow close to your foot. Keep hanging out. See if this can be just nice and passive. It should be passive right now. Right now we're not putting a load of effort in. It is just getting into the stretch and being kind of happy with it. That's it. And then slowly, slowly start pushing your knee down so you can feel strong in this and feel the strength of the outside of your hip. Owning this position like you can push yourself out of it and push your weight around using the strength of the stuff we are stretching. And pick yourself up a little bit. So hands either side of your thigh, lift your knee up to your armpit, try and be strong. Not quite as strong this side. I feel like that's a bit harder. Keep holding, and then drop. Just show yourself this stretch again. Fantastic. Okay, and then let's go more hamstring stuff. So I'm on the incline that won't help me now because my feet are higher than my hips, which means flexibility is going to be a bit harder. I want you to go wide feet and just go down one leg again. So we're kind of going over the same ground we worked on the standing hamstring stretch. Bring your hands just underneath your knee and try and sit your torso up to find hamstring stretch. If you can grab hold of your foot, that's great. If you could just hold onto your ankle, that's fine too. Wherever you find comfortable, just looking at your right leg, dropping your belly down towards that side and see if you can get passive stretch here. Notice how I'm not trying to curl over. My head isn't trying to get to my foot or my knee. I'm just trying to sit up tight and understand how this stretch feels down the back of my leg. It's a feeling and learning that I'm after more than I am the actual shape. Because if we just said, can you touch your nose to your knee? It just becomes an expression of my neck craning to get my face down lower. It's not that helpful. But if I'm trying to get you to understand and feel this, rather than get the external shape, it just wins. It wins to help you learn your limits, your weak links, so we can work on them and make them no longer weak links, so they can be something that you can rely on in life. Okay, try the other side. The other hand, remember your hand can go under your knee first. This is my easiest version, and you kind of use that as leverage to sit your torso up, so that if you find your bottom rib and think it's sinking down towards your hip crease, I'm not after that just now, because it becomes a different thing. That becomes an expression of the spine. I want it to just be the back of this leg finding the stretch. So if you can get hold of your foot and just tease yourself forwards here, then that works. Unfortunately, like always, we need to check in with the strength of what you're working with to see if you own this, if it's yours to use. So we are going to do some hip flexor strengthening stuff, and you might get cramp. Very likely that you get cramp. Keep holding, keep pitching yourself forwards. So I'm trying to persuade this to be passive. It's so tempting to just do this as my strength that is holding me. I'm like holding tension. I want my body to not be so defensive in this position so that I can be in it. But then I also want it to be really strong in this position so that I can pull myself around and move around and be athletic. That's it. Then sitting up. Okay, this is the hard bit now. I want you to just put your fingertips down in between your legs, and it's not about lifting your feet. I want you to feel what it would feel like to lift your feet, and you'd need to tense the muscles in your belly, feel hip flexors on, and just hold that. Just see if you can hold it until it falls apart. Because we want our body to adapt. It needs to be something that your central nervous system deems necessary to keep. So we need to be able to keep this on for long enough, and your body will just learn how to do whatever it does, good and bad. So if you just sit on the sofa for 10 hours a day, your body will get good at sitting on a sofa, but won't be good at the other stuff. I want you to have all of the options. Relaxation and being able to relax on the sofa is key as well. And sometimes I have to teach people how to down-regulate tension and things because they can't relax. But for us just now, I want us to just learn the strength of hip flexors, muscles in our belly. And then let's look at a bit of rotation in the hips. So if you bring your hands behind you, bend your knees a little bit and roll this knee in and back out. Roll this knee in and back out. You can play around with how far away your heels are from your bum and work out what works. So you roll it in, roll it out, roll it in, roll it out. Couple more. Yes. There we go. And then bring it back into cross-legged. Hands on your knees. And back to how we started, just with breathing, soft shoulders, relaxed jaw. Maybe just wriggle around a little bit. See if you're happy, sit up really tall, then bring palms together, thumbs to forehead, tuck your chin and roll forwards. Namaste. Thank you so much everyone, I appreciate you very much. Remember to let me know what you're working with, what you need help with, and I'll do my best to help you out. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my holiday now. Alright, thanks very much, I'll see you very soon. Bye.